Browns back on the practice field today, but of course it wouldn't be a day without a Deshaun Watson update. Mary Kay, we hear from Tony Buzbee, who is representing the accuser in this case, as he has the other most of the other accusers of Deshaun Watson, that the plaintiff is going to travel to New York to talk to the NFL in about 2 weeks. He has a previous engagement, a previous client that he has to work with next week, but she will cooperate with the NFL investigation.
Yes, and I think that's very, very significant, because if this thing had been settled outside of court and she didn't need to be interviewed by the NFL, then they really wouldn't have anything to base a case on in terms of trying to suspend him or whatever the case may be. So the fact that Tony Buzbee is sending her to New York, allegedly, to talk to the NFL means that, this could have repercussions, ramifications for Deshaun Watson. So we'll have to see how that goes. But he also says there is pertinent video to go along with the case that they have going. And that's new information. Of course, we don't know what that means. To this point, it has been her word against his word, but if there is some kind of video involved, it could be incriminating, maybe not. We will have to see.
Yeah, and Ashley, this is just sort of, look, the NFL is really investigating this, and the fact that she is going to speak to the NFL, something she isn't required to do legally, of course, it just means that this investigation is going to continue to hang over this organization until there's some sort of resolution.
Exactly. And again, as we know, we talked about yesterday, Lisa Friel from the NFL is heading that investigation. She was also the person who looked into the original complaints against Deshaun Watson prior to his 11-game suspension 2 years ago. But the video component could turn things very quickly, I think. I mean, we've seen in the past with players, including when Kareem Hunt went through his off-the-field incident, video can change the narrative, I think, for the NFL a lot of times really very quickly. So it's definitely, I think, a key piece to keep an eye on as this continues to progress.
Okay, back on the football field, the Browns got a little bit of good news at tackle. Yes, we're still trying to figure this left tackle thing out a week and a half into the season. Jedrick Wills Jr. back at practice today. So obviously the hope here, Mary Kay, is that Jed will be able to maybe try and give it a go on Sunday.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time watching the offensive linemen at practice today. Jed was out there working. Jack Conklin was out there working at left tackle. So once again, they have three options heading into this game in those two guys and James Hudson, who started the last game. So they've got a tall order ahead of them with Josh Hines-Allen, Travon Walker, Eric Armstead. They need to do a better job. They have to keep Deshaun upright. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, and of course there's also a domino effect here. Let's say Jed and Jack are both ready. Who's going to play right tackle? Could they keep DeWanda over there? Could it be Jack Conklin? Obviously, as we've talked about, Ashley, over and over again, that's a good problem to have, but the Browns just want to get all three of those guys back on the field in some capacity.
Yeah, I think after what we saw last week with some of the protection issues, the sooner those guys can get back, the better. Maybe there will be some less confusion, especially with the pre-snap penalties, but it's definitely interesting that we're heading into another week of some intrigue with these tackle spots because of these injuries.
Okay, now, obviously injuries continue to be the story in a week when the Browns put 4 players on IR and then a fifth today in Miles Harden, but really the big name not on IR but who is not going to play Sunday, that is David Njoku, the tight end. So that means the veteran Jordan Akins is going to be in the spotlight, and of course I'm sure the Browns will call some people up, but Mary Kay, David Njoku, really, this team's number 2 target behind Amari Cooper, and they won't have him against the Jaguars.
No, and if you look back to last year's game, he had 5 catches for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half, 1 for 30 yards, 1 for 34 yards. Of course, that was Joe Flacco, and they were lighting it up together. But he was a major, major reason why they were able to win that game 31-27. Now they will be without him. They will miss him in the blocking realm when they need his chipping help. So this is huge.
And Ashley, you had a chance to talk to Jordan Akins today.
Yeah, Jordan Akins, I think one of those interesting guys in the sense that he has a lot of history with Deshaun Watson. They played together in Houston, which also means he has a lot of history with the Jaguars, those two teams in the same division. He said if there's one team he's familiar with knowing all their tricks that they like to keep up their sleeve, it's Jacksonville. And I actually asked him specifically about that blocking because that's been such a huge narrative with knowing that David is going to be out. And he says, he feels like he's never gotten the credit that he's deserved as a blocker in the NFL, that he's really worked in recent years as he's gotten older to bulk up, to take on more of a role there. And he feels like he's ready to step up there and in the pass game, do whatever they need him to do.
All right, well, it's Jordan Akins time on Sunday in Jacksonville. We'll cover Jordan Akins' potential big game, I guess, all the lead up to it, all at cleveland.com/Browns.